Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? I got a good one for you guys. All right, this is going to be a battle of the ages. This is something that somebody in the Discord, actually Jedi Machios, who's I've done a real talk live with him. We were having to talk about it. He brought it up. We were talking about. I don't know how it came up, but it just came up. All right. So we were having this debate amongst ourselves, and then I was thinking this might be good content for the channel. So I was putting some research into both sides because I'm a huge fan of Predator. Like in high school, like I was so into Alien and Alien vs Predator. Actually, a Predator was the first figurine that I ever bought. So like I used to be head over heels for Predator culture. I would spend my time researching Predator culture. I was used to be so in love with it. What's up, Nick? And we got Jedi Machios. How you guys doing? Thanks for being the early birds here, so I'm not totally talking to myself. So, anyways, I've always been fascinated with predators. I have two different video games about predators. I love them. I love them, and I haven't really talked about them in a long time. So this is really fun to refresh my memory and kind of relive all these reasons why I love predators. Hey, what's up, average? Not the first comment today, but you're close. Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about Boba Fett versus Predator. So when I was doing some research, I was just like, I had, I think, the information that I wanted, and then I went in Google, and I'm like, I'm going to have a hell of a time making a thumbnail. How the heck am I going to put these two together? And I Google Boba Fett versus Predator. Hold up. I Google Boba Fett versus Predator, and it turns out there's like a whole subreddit for it. This has been like an age-long community debate who would win, Predator or Boba Fett, and I had no idea. Like I didn't even know that this was a discussion, but this is a long time discussion. This is a heated discussion. A lot of people are like, yeah, absolutely, Boba crushes, and then people are like, no way, Predator stomps. Strikes coming in confident. Boba wins. End of discussion. Boba profile picture. I can see why you think that. Good to see you guys. Um, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about Boba, then we're going to talk about Predator, and we're going to see how they do together. Okay, I've even prepared a little bit of fan fiction, if you will, as we discuss who wins this battle and why. So let's get into it. So let's start off with before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys, if you haven't yet, to subscribe to the gaming channel. The link's in the description. That's my second channel. This one's not monetized. YouTube won't monetize it for whatever reason. So I'm starting over with a new channel. The link is in the description. Subscribe to that one. If you haven't yet, I beg. I beg on my knees. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your dog, subscribe to Star Wars Gaming. Okay. We will appreciate all of you there. Okay. Now we can turn that annoying scroller off. Let's start off talking about Boba Fett. Okay. Hold up. I got like a bunch of pictures queued. I love this appears right in the middle. Right in the middle. Just could not be any more. Yo, Boba, dude. Do you mind moving out of the way a little bit? I'm trying to do a presentation here. Damn, dude. Anyway, I'm just gonna move to the side. All right. You know what? This actually looks really stupid. We're talking about Boba Fett. Okay, Boba, thanks for showing up. You can go now. All right, let's talk about Boba Fett's gear. Hold up. Boba Fett's gear. There we go. So Boba Fett, as you guys know, and you guys are all experts of Boba Fett. You guys all love Boba Fett. You guys are probably know stuff about Boba Fett that I don't know. And I'm open to being wrong on any of these things. Right. So first of all, Boba Fett's got a jetpack, right? One of the reasons why most of us love him, why he stood out so much, was the jetpack. We got the jetpack making him incredibly mobile. He also has armor, right? So I wasn't sure what his armor was made out of. So it turns out his armor, his original set of armor was something called Durasteel armor, which is like some of the strongest metal in Star Wars. Like it's in Darth Vader's armor, it's in General Grievous's armor. Durasteel is some of the strongest metal in the Star Wars universe. However, Boba Fett does upgrade at some point to Beskar armor, which is a lot stronger than that, and it can defend against, as you guys know, Star Wars blasters, They're lightsaber resilient. I don't think they're totally lightsaber proof. You could still, if you were to really press a lightsaber into it, I think it would get through eventually. But anyway, Beskar armor. He's, as we know, Boba Fett is not totally armored up, right? He has, as you can see in the picture here, Boba Fett, between his shoulder pad, like there's not a ton of armor here. This is an OG picture of Boba, but there's not that much armor. So in the places where he doesn't have armor, he's kind of vulnerable. Moving on, he also has a ton of different sights in his helmet. He's got heat vision or thermal vision, whatever you want to call it, night vision. He's got motion detection in there, 360-degree vision. Don't ask me how that works, but he has it. What I didn't know, he has like a rangefinder, like a radar. And what I didn't know is that he has a heartbeat sensor. He can detect if someone's heart is beating, which is crazy. I didn't actually know that before. I think they retconned that Jango's armor always had Beskar armor. Okay. Yeah, I'm not totally sure. He from what I read, he had the Durasteel, and then maybe in Legends he had the Beskar. I'm not totally sure when and where he had the armor. I just figured I'd include both just to keep you guys happy. Even though I prefer Boba, let's be honest, even Arnold, the Terminator, had problems dealing with the Predator. That's true. He did. One thing I wanted to point out about that is that Arnold was unprepared. You know, he had no idea what he was getting into, and he did end up beating the Predator just by using like guerrilla warfare without any weapons, just kind of very primal. So take that into consideration, but also take into consideration that the Predator that the Terminator beat, Arnold beat, was considered like he was like a teenager in the Predator world. Okay, he was a young boy Predator trying to earn his stripes. He was trying to get validation from his dad back on his home world. Okay, that's the kind of Predator that Arnold beat. So not exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer. Hey, what's up, Sarah Speed? Good to see you, man. Okay, moving on. I think we're still in gear. Hold up, there it is. Okay. No, we're done with gear. Let's move on to weapons. So, just 1 second here, guys. What the heck? So my dog hurt his foot yesterday and was bleeding. We have a sock taped around it with bandages, and he's trying to pull the sock off. He's gonna be doing that this whole stream, son of a bitch. Okay. I keep getting distracted. Why do I have Predator weapons up? Should be Boba weapons. There we go. Boba weapons. So we got his EE3 carbine rifle, the K11 blaster pistol. We have his jetpack missile, which I believe is only one shot. I don't know if he carries an extra shot with him. I don't think so. I think it's just kind of the one shot. He's got a bunch of variations of grenades. He's got his flamethrower. He's got his whipcord. A lot of the same stuff his dad had. We saw in The Mandalorian that he has wrist and, well, we knew he had wrist rockets, but I had never seen the knee rockets before. He's got a wrist laser. He's got stun darts. You guys let me know if I'm missing anything. But Arnold, a normal human, was able to defeat him. Boba is way superior to him. Don't worry, all right? The scale will be balanced. Okay. He's also got stun darts. I don't know if I said that, but yeah. So if I'm missing any weapons, you guys feel free to let me know. Let's move on to the next subject. Boba Fett. Advantages in this fight. Boba Fett definitely has the advantage at a distance, right? He's got a lot of really good long-range weapons. Boba Fett is a skilled martial artist, but it's definitely not his strong suit. It seems like he favors his tools, he favors his gadgets, he favors having a plan, knowing what he's walking into, not necessarily running into a fight and throwing fists, right? That's not how Boba Fett operates. The good thing about Boba Fett, he's got that jetpack, and he can generate that distance that he needs very quickly if he has to. If he needs to get away, he can create that distance. If he doesn't have that distance, he can create it, right? Something else about Boba Fett, he has like achieved peak human strength. He's one of the strongest humans in the Star Wars universe. and he's able to achieve feats of human strength that humans shouldn't be able to achieve, right? He's a he's outstrength Bosk, right? A giant lizard who has insane strength. He can throw people around. I think there's something, a comic about him breaking the arms of a 7-foot alien or something like that. I don't know, but he's performed crazy feats of human strength. Another thing about Boba Fett, he's very he operates in a very unexpected way. He's hard to read. He's been caught. He's been able to catch Darth Vader off guard. He's been able to catch Luke Skywalker off guard. He's a hard guy to fight, so he can handle himself, toe to toe with a Jedi or a Sith, and he's done it in the past. And the last thing I'm going to say about advantages is that he's a tactician, right? He likes to use his brain before he gets in there and puts his body on the line, because that might risk, if his body's in the fight, he might risk blowing the bounty. He might end up killing someone he's trying to keep alive. He tries to be smart about it if he can. So he tries to outsmart his opponents. All right. Lastly, with Boba, we're going to talk about disadvantages. And I'm just keeping an eye on my dog. He's trying to bite bandages off his leg. It's driving me nuts. Disadvantages. Boba Fett is stealthy, right? He usually comes in with a plan. He doesn't put himself in a position where he's vulnerable. But once he's in the fray, he's not nearly as stealthy as Predator is, right? He doesn't have those skills or the technology. He's less stealthy and slower than the Predator. He's also he's a lot less efficient in close quarters combat, right? As we mentioned already, these kind of reflect the advantages. It's just the opposite. Another disadvantage is that his armor has a lot of weak spots. His armor, there's not a ton to it here. Hang on, let me pull this up again. What is my dog doing? What the dog doing? This armor doesn't cover everything, right? So that covers Boba. So let's move on to the Predator. I have a quote here that I wanted to read. This was by Arnold, or Dutch from the movie. It's an alien, by which I mean it's not from this planet. Highly intelligent, highly resourceful, with reflexes you wouldn't believe. All right, take a good look at him. Now we're going to move on. The Predator, also known as the Yautja. So the gear that the Predator have, they have a lot of the same tech that Boba has in terms of like the helmet, heat vision, night vision, ultraviolet. The Predator helmet also has vibration scanning, and it also has a radar. So it's pretty close to Boba's. They also have incredible stealth technology, so they can cloak themselves, and it's kind of it's like a light warping, right? If you've heard of that, it doesn't make him invisible. It just reflects the light around him, so it makes him look invisible, completely invisible. That being said, because it is light bending, it can't be sensed with heat vision. So if the Predator is cloaked, Boba can't see him with his heat vision. He can't see him with any kind of sensor. Also, Boba Fett can't use his heart sensor to detect the Predator's heartbeat, because the Predators can still their heart to the point of not even beating at all. So Predators, they have that advantage there. So that stealth technology, it can't be tracked with anything except some kind of pheromone sensor or some kind of smell sensor, right? I don't think that's anything that Boba has. I'm sure that maybe an animal species maybe would have an easier time hunting a Predator, but unless you have that, you're kind of screwed. The Predator also has, he carries a med kit with him for quick healing in battle, but it does take time, obviously. His armor is it's recorded as being harder than anything on Earth. It can withstand, well, it's kind of like Boba's armor. There's like the movie armor, and then there's like upgraded armor, because a Predator has such an incredible fan base that is so far reaching. Like, Boba Fett has his extended universe, comics and legends and all these incredible things that Boba Fett's done. Well, the Predator has the exact same thing. A diehard fan base, comics and tons of stuff that the Predator's done. Okay, the Predator in comics has gone toe-to-toe with Batman and won. He's gone toe-to-toe with Superman. The Predator has gone toe-to-toe with the Justice League. Okay, There's tons of comics and legends about the Predator, just as much as there is with Boba Fett. So they are pretty similar. Anyways, the armor's kind of similar. There's kind of the base armor, and then there's like the upgraded armor. The armor also kind of serves a purpose as being multi-purpose. So the Predator goes into battle with a lot more gear than Boba does, because the Predator uses its armor to carry a lot of gear. Strike says Boba also has the advantage. Mando helmets are 360-degree helmets, so Predator can't sneak up on them. That is true, unless the Predator is cloaked, right? Then it doesn't matter how many directions he can see. That's the only thing. The cloaking technology alone is a huge advantage for Predator. So let's move into. I know this is a Star Wars community, and everybody's going to be like, "Fuck Predator, Boba wins." I know that there's an incredible bias going into this. I knew the risk, and I decided to make the video anyway. So bear with me. Predator weapons. So the Predator has its. I'm going to pull the picture up here for a moment. So the Predator has its iconic wrist blades. It's got that, if you see on his shoulder there, he's got, hold up here, he's got that shoulder cannon. It's called a plasma caster. It is instant, but it does require a recharge, right? It's kind of a last resort thing. They try not to use it unless they absolutely have to. It's really equivalent. It's kind of equivalent to the, what's it called? I wrote it down here just in case I would forget it. The pulse blaster that Boba Fett would have. That's another thing I wanted to talk about yet. I haven't forgot about the pulse blaster and the lightsaber. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. So the Predator also has mesh nets that are tightening. Okay, once you're in the nets tighten and tighten and tighten and tighten until it just squeezes and kills the subject inside. Not biased. You're with Predator. Hey, some people gotta have Predators back, some people. The Predator does have more armor, but there's if you watch the movies or look at other pictures of Predators, not all of them have as much armor as the one in the picture I showed you. The armor is actually very similar. The armor is kind of spaced out with a lot of vulnerable places, and that's because the Predator, they value their movement and mobility. Also, the Predators have like incredibly dense skin, like bulletproof dense skin. So there's not really a need for them to have a bunch of armor. They're like thousands of years evolved for battle. So they kind of have that advantage there. All right. Weapons, right? Predators also have something called smart discs. They're like kind of like ninja stars. They're like these discs that they got a bunch of razor sharp edges, like a saw blade, and they're kind of like they're kind of like boomerangs, right? They're called smart discs because they're kind of like homing discs, and they come back, or they're kind of tracking a little bit. It takes incredible precision to throw them, but they are deadly. They cut through metal, they cut through anything. Predators also have something called a cambi stick, I think it's called, which is a spear, and a bunch of other melee weapons like daggers and stuff like that. The Predator also has it has a whip, right? Just your run-of-the-mill whip. It's got a bunch of different explosives, just like Boba Fett does. It's got laser traps. It's got a variety of mines. It's got grenades. It's got all the same stuff that Boba Fett has. Also, the Predator, you'll see on his hand here, one of his gauntlets there, it's got something in it that generates extra strength and power when it's punching. It's called a power punch gauntlet. Okay, so if a Predator is really punching to kill, it's going to use its power punch gauntlet. I think that about covers weapons. I'm going to check comments real quick here because I got a couple different tabs open here. Their skin is penetrated by normal bullets, though. Yeah, it's penetrated, but a bunch of bullets won't be enough to kill a Predator, really. It'll slow him down. It's kind of like if you were to shoot a bear. Like, just shooting a bear with a bullet, one bullet won't slow it down. I mean, maybe if you put 30 bullets in it, it would still kill you, and then it might just like go off and die somewhere by itself after it bleeds out. It's kind of similar to that. Boba Fett. And the Sarlacc, he relies more on his tech, just like his father. Predator is a true hunter. It's true. They're both hunters. Let's be clear. They are both hunters, but very different kinds of hunters. That's why this is such a good debate. Han Solo quote. There you go. There you go. I'm glad you brought this up, Strike, because this is an important point, and we are going to talk about that yet. All right, so now we're going to move on to advantages. So what advantages does the Predator have over Boba Fett? So the Predators are very old. We don't know how old they are, but they have very long lifespans like Yautja. Some of the oldest Predators are reported to be, I'm saying reported like this is like real information given. But they're known to be hundreds, even thousands of years old. These Predators, we don't know how long they are. They're kind of like Grogu. Like Grogu's, he's old, but he's young, you know? So that being said, with a long lifespan comes a lot of experience. They're very wise and they have a lot of combat knowledge, right? So that is a huge advantage. Just being alive that long, being in so many fights, right? Yeah, they're a highly advanced and evolved species. So way more along, like further along than the human races. I guess comparing it to Star Wars, it's maybe a little bit closer, but like on a biological scale, they're a more evolved species because all they care about is about hunting and sport and proving themselves and stuff like that. So their bodies have just evolved pretty much just for hunting, right? The Predator has gorilla level strength. Okay, if Predator got a hand on Boba Fett, he could just rip him in half, right? He's got that kind of strength. He could rip someone's head off. There's in the movies the Predators that would grab aliens and swing them into walls, and the walls would break and collapse. You know, concrete columns would fall apart. A Predator could just punch a wall with its bare knuckles and put a hole through I don't know, like rock or something like that. They have absolutely insane strength. Okay, it's a good point, Hayden. We're definitely going to get to that. And thank you for coming to the stream. I appreciate you, man. Not going to acknowledge that average. There's always that one guy. There's always that one guy that's got to bring Jar Jar into this. Why you got to be that guy, man? So the Predator has incredible speed. It has beyond human speed, right? People, it's recorded that the Predator moves at a speed that is like a blur. It is hard for the human eye to track them. Kind of like when you're watching Dragon Ball Z and they're like dashing around and they like have humans watching them from the distance so you can see how fast they're actually moving. It's kind of like that. So a Predator could, like in the movies we've seen, like if a helicopter shot a missile at a Predator, it could dodge the missile, right? If it had that chance to see the missile being launched, it will dodge it. Incredibly fast. They're also very acrobatic. They can leap up to 4 times their height. If they were to fall off a building, they would land on their feet like a cat. Okay, they're very acrobatic creatures. Jedi would win, but not Boba. Maybe. I mean, Boba. The reason that Boba can beat Jedi is because Jedi have a very kind of a limited skill set, whereas Boba is so equipped to kill all these different creatures. You know, Boba Fett has time and time again gone out of his comfort zone, fought things that he shouldn't be able to beat and killed them. So who knows, right? I got you, man. I got you. Okay, where were we here? Advantages. The Predator can mimic any language that he hears, and he can use it to confuse his prey. So he could, if he heard Boba talking, or he heard the English language somewhere, and he figured out that Boba spoke English, because what the Predator does is they kind of stalk their prey for a little bit and try and understand a little bit more about their behavior and their language and their social interactions and stuff like that. So if the Predator was stalking Boba for a long time, he could figure out what language Boba spoke and mimicked it, and maybe lured Boba into a trap or something like that. The Predator also just has a lot more gear. He brings a lot more gear into battle, which is an advantage because he's just got more in his arsenal. The Predator is super tough. He can tank missile strikes head on. Like, he's tough. He's near bulletproof. He's fireproof. We've seen it before in the movies. Predator completely on fire, totally fine. And like I mentioned earlier, they can still their heartbeats. So Boba Fett as a heartbeat sensor wouldn't do a whole lot in this fight. Okay. Okay. Disadvantages. The Predator does have disadvantages. So their advantage is at close range, right? The Predator is an incredible close range fighter. They have been trained at martial arts since birth. Okay. In this situation, a Predator would have he would have the advantage. There's a vehicle idling outside. Okay. Just 1 second here. Sorry about that. My wife just came in. She was dropping off some mail. So um, real life gets in the way of YouTube sometimes. What the hell, right? Uh, Lost my train of thought. Let's get back into it. Okay, we were just getting started into disadvantages. So they're less advantage at close range. Yes, I was talking about their close range fighting. They are at a disadvantage at long range, and Boba Fett is an excellent long range fighter. Okay, Boba Fett has way more in his arsenal to do more damage at a distance. The Predator is also honor bound. They will, if they think a prey is defenseless or innocent, they won't kill them because it's not worth it, right? They are only in it for the thrill of the hunt, right? It's kind of like a sportsmanship level of thinking. So if, like we've seen in the movies, like if a predator was going to kill a woman but saw that she was pregnant, so he let her go. So that kind of honor bound way of thinking can be used against them in battle, especially if like I think in one of the movies, one of the newer ones, I'm not sure which one it was, but a predator that is fighting a samurai, right? He's got a samurai sword with him. So the predator only fights the guy with his blade. So it's a fair fight, right? So if the predator just used all his gear, he would have just blown the guy up or something. But he decides that no, let's keep this honorable, let's keep it fair. And the human ended up winning because he was more skilled with his katana than the predator was with his wrist blade. Maybe he was a young predator, who knows? Another another disadvantage: a predator can't apparently detect their prey if they're covered in mud, as we've seen Arnold do in the movie. Um, a big disadvantage to the predator is that when they're wearing when they have their cloaking device on, if it goes through water or it gets wet, it shorts it out. We know that, so that's kind of one of its biggest weaknesses and something that could really leave the predator vulnerable in battle. Something else, the predator, if it's not wearing its mask, you guys have seen its very ugly face. When it's not wearing its helmet, it's vulnerable to environments that don't have methane in the air. I didn't know that before. I was looking into this, but so if they're fighting on a planet that has that kind of atmosphere, they can be at a disadvantage in that fight if they lose their helmet. I could see Boba pretending to not see the predator and then attack out of surprise. Yeah, totally. I mean, this is totally something that Boba Fett would do, right? He's a smart guy. He's a tactician. Especially if Boba feels like he's at a disadvantage or something. Like if Boba Fett feels like he's at a disadvantage, he'll create that advantage, right? That's a good point. Boba will get dirty if he has to. And the last disadvantage that the Predator has is that uh, they're cocky. They're cocky, right? They once they think they have the win, they'll let their guard down, or they'll spend too much time gloating, or in that moment of victory is when they get shot or something like that. They're just cocky creatures because they're so obsessed with winning and the thrill of the fight. Okay, so we have talked about advantages and disadvantages. So just some considerations before we go into the fight. Um, whether or not Boba Fett is canon or extended universe is obviously it's a big deal in the fight, and it determines which Boba Fett that we get. Also, whether Boba Fett has his lightsaber or not. I don't think I don't think the lightsaber thing is canon. I think the pulse blaster is, right. You guys can correct me if you're wrong. I think the pulse blaster is. Um, Boba will hide the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, because he has escaped once. He could do it again. Another consideration is whether or not, like, if prep time, basically. It's kind of like Batman, right? Batman is pretty much always at a disadvantage, but if he has prep time, he can beat anybody. He can, well, maybe almost anybody, but I think there's a comic about Batman who he wipes out the whole Justice League because he has a very long plan, and he has that prep time. So I think Boba Fett is kind of similar to Batman. I think in that way, if he knew what his prey was and he had a plan and he kind of knew what he was going up against, like the person that hired him for the bounty told him what was going on. Boba Fett, I have no doubt that Boba Fett would win. If Boba Fett had that prep time, he knew what he was walking into. I think that Boba Fett would win because he's a smart guy. He's a tactician. That being said, the same thing goes for the Predator. If the Predator is hunting Boba, if the Predator has been following Boba for 2-3 days and studying him, his movements, his patterns, his behavior, I think that this exact same thing, the Predator would win if he had that prep time as well. So that would make a big difference. The last thing that I should mention is that the Predator has self-destruct in his gauntlet. He's got to self-destruct, and because if a Predator is going to lose, they got a lot of pride. They don't want to lose the fight. They're going to blow themselves up and the enemy. If they're going to die anyway, they may as well not let the victor leave that fight. That's some good espresso, boy. Just came home from work before the stream, so I'm just sucking some coffee to wake back up. All right, folks. Here we are. We are at the face-off. So how we are going to do this fight is, you guys comment right now who you think is going to win, because at the end of the day, okay, these are opinions, okay, they're no facts, but guys, comment who you think would win. Leave a like. Please like the video. It helps me in the algorithm, and I would appreciate it like crazy. Also, I'm going to plug this probably a couple times a video now. I have a second YouTube channel, Star Wars Real Talk Gaming. YouTube won't monetize this one, so I'm starting over with a new channel. And I'm moving all of my live gaming content, my edited gaming content. It's all going to be there. So the link is in the description. Just got to quickly plug myself here since we're kind of a little bit at an intermission. Average says Boba. Strike says Boba. Strike again says Boba. Nick says Boba. Solanic says Predator. Sirespeed says Predator. I'm surprised you said Predator. You got the whole Boba theme about you all the time. Okay, anybody just joining, comment who you think is going to win. We're going to go into 3 rounds. Okay, each round is a different scenario. I've written out a little bit of fan fiction. Okay, I'm going to sweep you away with my beautiful voice and an unknown land, and you guys can imagine the fight, okay? Because I don't have animation skills. I do know how to write. So hopefully I do a good job and I do justice. We got Boba. We got another Boba. Okay. Let's get into round 1. So while I am reading this, I just want you guys to know I'm not going to be reading comments as much because I'm going to be reading something, and I don't want to break up what I'm reading to read comments, so I will read the comments at the end of each round. Slam that espresso. Let's do this. Round 1. I'm going to bring something up here. Okay, here we are. There's the picture to put you in the scene. Master level graphic designer. I know. Very impressive. Okay. Let's get into it. Round 1. Boba Fett is after his biggest bounty yet. Last seen on a forest planet in the Outer Rim. Boba Fett knows very little about his opponent, other than he's a beastly opponent who has been reported to literally rip his opponents in two. This enemy has become somewhat of a legend on this planet and is known as an unkillable monster. It started with the wildlife, reports of dead bears, then wildcats. But then this mysterious hunter began picking off the planet's strongest warriors, leaving it vulnerable to invasion. The people have had enough and have decided to hire the best. Just checking on the other tab, making sure we're good. Okay. Boba Fett lands his ship and begins cautiously walking through the forest, unsure of what he's looking for, but he knows it's deadly. He cycles through his scanners and is unable to detect anything. Little does he know a predator is watching him from high up in the trees. Completely undetectable thanks to his stealth technology, it is time to strike. So that's the setup. Okay, that's going to be the same setup for round 1 and round 2. Boba can't see the predator, but sees a spear with his 360-degree vision and manages to narrowly miss it as it strikes the ground next to him. Boba fires his blaster in the direction of the spear, but hits nothing. He slowly pans the surrounding trees, scanning for any signs of life, but with empty results. Then, with a split second, he hears the crunching of leaves behind him and ducks just in time to miss the swing of the predator's power fist gauntlet. Boba blasts him with the flamethrower at point blank, but the predator just shakes it off. The predator grabs Boba and with a single arm tosses him across a meadow into a giant oak tree. Fett's back slams into the tree, crushing his jetpack, rendering it useless. Thank goodness it didn't explode, Boba thinks to himself. It's not over yet. Boba lifts his head and looks up. The predator is already rushing him from across the meadow. Boba begins blasting him with his EE-3 carbine rifle, but the predator is just a blur, dashing from side to side. Little did the predator know, however, that while Boba was flying through the air, he dropped some landmines in the field before he made contact with the tree. Dash, 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 step, boom. Massive explosion occurs, and with a mighty roar of pain, is heard from the direction of where the mighty warrior was. Only a mushroom cloud lingers now. Boba exhales, glad the fight is over. However, out of the smoke, a mildly burned predator walks forward. With some quick thinking, Boba unleashes his whipcord and tightly winds up the predator into a tight bind. Boba runs towards the predator, plants his foot, grips the whipcord with all of his strength, ducks his shoulder, and with all his strength throws the predator over his shoulder. The predator slams the ground hard. This now angry Yautja breaks the whipcord and with his inhuman strength, rips free of it and jumps to his feet. Boba thinks to himself, man, this guy won't stay down. Boba reaches for his K-11 blaster pistol and with his... Sorry, let me just read that again. Boba reaches for his K-11 blaster pistol with his quick reflexes, but the predator is faster. A smart disc whizzes through the air and cuts Boba's hand clean off, just as it makes contact with the pistol. Boba grabs his arm and screams in pain as the predator approaches. He grabs Boba by his helmet, squeezes his head, while his head is inside it, and rips the bounty hunter's spine right out of his body. The predator lets out a mighty roar. He is victorious. So that is round 1. We got 2 more rounds to go. The first round went to Predator. So I tried to use scenarios where they're using all their technology to their advantage. I'm trying to set things up in a way that like they play out realistically. Okay, I'm just going to check the comments here. If Boba wins, it has to be the seismic charge. That would be awesome. Boba just dips from the battle and just drops the seismic charge on the planet. What's up, Gray? Good to see you. Okay, so that was round 1. Okay, we're going to go into round 2 now. So it's the same setup. Boba Fett's walking through the forest. Let me put this up here. Boba Fett's walking through the forest. All right. So I'll just read that first sentence again just to set the scene. He cycles through his scanners and is unable to detect anything. Little does he know a predator is watching him from high up in the trees, completely undetectable thanks to his stealth technology. It is time to strike. Predator leaps down from the tree and lunges toward Boba with alarming speed. The predator extends his wrist blades and tries to plunge it into Boba's chest. but his wrist blades have never met Beskar armor before and do nothing but push Boba back a few feet. Boba is stunned for a moment, but then he comes to. He quickly looks around him, cycling through his scanners, but he just cannot see what hit him. He decides it's too dangerous on the ground and jet blasts into the sky. Suddenly, a mesh metal net flies towards him from the ground and wraps his body completely. As the net tightens and squeezes around him, Boba thinks to himself how reminiscent this is of his time in the Sarlacc pit. Fortunately, Boba has a tool for the job. He pulls out his lightsaber and quickly cuts the net, releasing himself. As soon as he's freed, he's met with a couple smart discs, which he is able to slice in two before reaching him. A spear soon follows and just grazes the vulnerable part between his shoulder and his elbow. Boba winces from the pain, but it's only a flesh wound, so he's feeling fine. He hovers in the air and continues to scan the ground. A now visible predator roars at him, challenging Boba to return to the ground and face him. Bad idea turning off your cloak, you beast, Boba thinks. Predator leaps into the air and tries to bring the bounty hunter back down to the ground. Despite the Predator's incredible jumping power, reaching high enough to clear a two-story building, he falls short and was unable to grab Fett, who, at that exact moment, bent over and blasted Predator with his jetpack missile. Predator takes a direct hit and falls to the ground, but still manages to land on his feet, unaffected by the blast. However, the moment that his feet hit the ground, Boba opens fire with his carbine rifle and manages to hit this off-guard Predator multiple times. No kill shots, but it's now wounded and even more angry. Time for the big guns. Boba pulls out his pulse blaster and pulls the trigger. It unleashes a devastating shot towards the ground, but Predator's incredible reflexes and speed allow him to leap out of the way just in time before being hit. Gone. Boba loses sight of Predator, who is turned invisible yet again. Boba flies ahead and tries to get another angle on the Predator. Boba then hears a rustle of a tree branch behind him and sees the beastly warrior jumping into the air again. This time it jumped from the top of a tree to shorten the distance between them. Predator pulls out his whip and cracks it open to its fullest extent, looping around Boba's foot and snagging him. Predator roars and pulls Boba to the ground with a mighty crash. Boba staggers to his feet, but notices 3 red dots on his torso. Those of you who know what Predator, you know what 3 red dots mean. Boba quickly ignites his jetpack and boosts off into the air, realizing that something was wrong. Too slow. The lightning-fast plasma caster clips Boba, taking one of his legs clean off. Considering the lethal power of the Predator's shoulder cannon, Boba was incredibly lucky that he was able to avoid this death blow. Predator, now confident in his victory, uncloaks himself. Boba uses his pulse blaster as a crutch, and he gets upright again. Predator circles him like a shark, taking in his glory. Roaring and beating his chest, the Predator envisions his reward when he returns home with his new trophy. Boba realizes that this creature no longer saw him as a threat and was in no rush to take his life. Big mistake. Boba waits for Predator to circle him, and at just the right angle, he activates his jetpack at full power. He tackles Predator at a whopping 90 miles an hour and takes him soaring through the air, straight into a fallen over tree, acting as the perfect lance. The tree pierces Predator right through his chest. The Yautja screams in pain as his green blood spills over Boba's suit. Boba doesn't waste any time taking in his victory, unlike the Predator. After securing his kill, Fett flies off to the Slave One with a new mission in mind, a synthetic leg. So that is round 2. Boba took it for round 2. I'm going to check the comments here. Hold up. Where did the lightsaber come from? Boba Fett had a lightsaber. He has a lightsaber. We are considering Legends. We're considering Extended Universe. So earlier when I was setting up the fight, I was talking about all the different potential weapons that they're bringing into the fight. And I didn't think it would be fair for... I just think that Boba needed that advantage, I guess. I just wanted both people to have their full arsenal. Yeah, he's got a green one. That's right. He looks super freaking cool with his lightsaber, man. You Google Boba Fett with a lightsaber. I think it's in a bunch of comics and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm not a massive diehard Boba fan. I love Boba Fett, but definitely had to do some research going into this, and I wasn't going to include the lightsaber, but honestly, if you YouTube Boba Fett versus Predator, there's people who've made animations, stuff like that, and almost everybody includes the lightsaber. So I thought it might be a shame for me to leave it out. Okay, round 3, the final round. We're 1 for 1 here. We're 1 for 1. All right, let's get into it. An epic battle has occurred between the ruthless bounty hunter from Kamino and the timeless hunter from Yautja Prime. Craters and debris litter the battlefield. The now cut, beaten, and bruised predator lies against a newly formed boulder in one of the craters. Boba limping towards him, ready to finish his kill and collect the biggest bounty of his career. His helmet cracked, broken, and dented. His weapons exhausted and used to their limit. His jetpack spent. Boba reflects on the battle and how close he was to losing. The predator was clearly a hunter of wisdom and experience. Never had he ever been outwitted so much in battle. A perfect match, tactically speaking, as much as he hates to admit it. Never had Boba ever fallen into so many traps in his life. For every move I made, this warrior was 2 steps ahead of me, Boba thinks to himself. But little did he know the wounded predator was thinking the exact same thing. Boba limps on, now steps away from the Yautja. Boba was no longer armed to the teeth like he was nearly 48 hours ago at the beginning of their battle. 2 days of one hunting another and vice versa really takes its toll. Boba leans towards the predator and pulls out the predator's dagger from his belt, the only weapon remaining between the both of them. The predator would stop the bounty hunter if only he had the strength left to lift his arms. With both hands, Fett plunges the dagger into Predator's chest. The Predator roars from the pain, his roar much louder now that he doesn't have his helmet on, destroyed in battle. Boba stares into the Predator's eyes through his cracked visor, and the Predator does the same. There is a moment where it seems the warriors truly understand and respect each other after having fought the battle that they did. Boba stands up and grins to himself inside his helmet that's barely being held together on his head. Finally over. As Boba begins to limp away, he hears some beeping behind him. He looks back and sees the predator punching something into his gauntlet. Boba wonders to himself what the defeated warrior could be up to. He takes a closer look at the gauntlet and sees what resembles perhaps a countdown in another language. It doesn't take long for him to realize what's happening. Boba looks at the predator and he nods. The predator returns his nod with one of his own. Boom. The predator's self-destruct goes off, vaporizing both warriors in an instant. Round 3 ends in a draw. That's right. You guys are still having the debate about the lightsaber. So, before we move on to the final verdict here, what did you guys think of the rounds? Were you surprised at all about what you heard? Was it interesting? Any thoughts come to mind? Feel free to leave a comment. We're going to go into my verdict, what I think, who I think should win based on what we know so far. You like the draw. I felt it was fitting. Absolutely. Man, if I was thinking about editing this into like a short 10-minute video, but I just kind of wanted to do a live stream and just have a discussion about it. Obviously, my edit would have been a lot better. It would have had awesome cinematic music, but it's just kind of fun to have a discussion about it. Yeah, my dude. Appreciate it. All right. So that's my fan fiction, I guess you could say. It's not. I'm not a writer for either of these people. It's just a fantasy that I've created, and I think it would be it's a fun vision. I liked it, although I could have seen some scenes from totally, man, totally. There's definitely some scenes where Boba could have done something better or sneakier. Predator could have pulled something out of his ass. Like, you never know. There's The thing is, they're both such tactical fighters that the fight could have gone in 1,000 different directions. They've all got so much gear, combat experience. The fight could have gone 1,000 different ways. So I wanted to give one round to Boba, one round to Predator, and one as a draw. Yeah, it's a fun. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, they're very evenly matched. I couldn't believe it. Sorry, Slanik, no seismic charge. That would be funny. I should have almost included a space battle in here, but I don't, honestly, I don't know much about the Predators. What their spaceships are like. I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you. Thanks, Strike. Appreciate that, man. Oh, you guys are awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go into my verdict here, and my verdict is not based on I like Predator better, I like Boba better. It's based on just I just lined up some stats here. So, just pulling up what I had here. I have a chart here where I am just comparing the stats between the both of them. Okay, just from what I've researched. So we look at strength. Okay, Predator takes it for strength, right? Obviously, he's like a gorilla. Okay, Boba Fett's like the strongest human, but he doesn't match up against a Yautja. All of these individual points are not enough to win the battle. They're just individual points. Okay, as far as speed goes, the Predator's got the speed. He's got fast reflexes. He's just faster than Boba Fett is. If Boba Fett has his jetpack, their speed is comparable. Like, if Boba Fett's flying, he can fly at, I think I read 90 miles an hour, but a Predator can match a speeding car, from what I read. So that's I think their speed would be matched if Boba had his jetpack, which he usually does. So that's a draw, if anything. As far as tactical skills go, I would say that they're pretty evenly matched. Yo, Drunk 3PO. What's up, man? Good to see you. You missed my fan fiction. You missed my fan fiction. I had some beautiful stories comparing Predator and Boba Fett. That's awesome. Good to see you, man. I'm pumped to see you here. Here were the scenarios. We had round 1 in the forest. Round 2, more aerial. Boba Fett used that distance to his advantage. Round 3 took place in a crater after the battle. Round 1, I'm just repeating for those of you that missed it. Round 1 went to round 1 went to the Predator. Round 2 went to Boba Fett. Round 3 was a draw. Predator got him with his self-destruct. You got Boba. That's, you know what? I'm a little bit biased. I'm going into a biased community. I mean, we're all Star Wars fans. Everyone here loves Boba. I've only seen a couple people here that got Predator. I expected a lot of you to have Boba's back, so I I knew that going into this. I took that risk when I went into this stream. Okay, where was I? Okay, so tactical skills, I'd say they're evenly matched. They're both extremely skilled tacticians. As far as combat experience goes, that has to go to Predator, because Predators can live like hundreds up to thousands of years in some cases. That is a lot more combat experience. It is a massive advantage. So that point has to go to Predator. As far as combat goes, Boba gets it for long range. Predator gets it for close range. So you could say they cancel each other out. I guess in a fair fight, they would be mid-range, where neither of them are totally at their advantage, but where both of them can thrive in a fight. Next up, we have... Totally lost my place here. Armor. I'd say their armor's about the same. They don't have armor fully covering their body. It's incredibly powerful and strong and dense where the armor is at, but there's a lot of vulnerable places on both of their bodies. So armor, I would say, is about the same. As far as sight goes, or vision, their helmets are about the same. They have like all the same scanning technology. That's about a draw. As far as stealth goes, that has to go to Predator. They're stealthy creatures before the cloaking technology is on. The Predator, when he's in his cloak, he's impossible. Okay, I was doing a ton of research into this because it just seems like a totally unbeatable advantage, because Boba Fett has he is like heat. He's thermal vision. He can see heat vision, but the predator cannot be seen while they're cloaked by anything. Okay, by anything except some kind of sensor that picks up like pheromones or smells. Okay, there was a time, I don't remember if this was in a movie or in a comic, but there's an entire fleet of predator ships above Chicago, and nobody knew about it until I think it was Dutch's brother put on a predator helmet because he was screwing around, and he turned on a sensor, and he could just see this whole fleet of predator ships, and they're like, oh shit. So completely undetectable. Stealth has to go to predator. Also, Boba can't. He has a heartbeat sensor. He can detect heartbeats, but the predator can still, it's heartbeat, so it's undetectable. So stealth has to go to predator, and stealth is going to be huge in a match between two bounty hunters, two hunters facing off. Stealth is going to be a huge point. Marksmanship. Marksmanship, I'd say they're even. They're both incredibly skilled with their aim, with their guns. I suppose. I mean, if Boba was at a distance, his marksmanship would go a lot farther because of that advantage. Melee weapons, I'd say they're evenly matched. Just because, well, let me think here. Actually, Boba's incredibly skilled. Like he is skilled close combat. I just think Predator's more skilled close combat, and Predator is a lot more. He has a lot more close combat gear than Boba does. Like, I'm trying to think of Boba's close combat gear. It's mostly projectiles, right? Aside from the lightsaber, and that I mean, that's huge, right? If we include the lightsaber, then they're evenly matched. If we don't include the lightsaber, then that point has to go to Predator. So they both have some kind of capturing device, right? The Boba Fett has the whipcord. Predator has the mesh net. The Predator also has the whip. So they function about the same. You can break out of them. It's possible. So that's no point to either side because they cancel out. When they cancel out, no point. Next up, we have, okay, so this is like their OP weapons. Let me read your comments here. I think if it gets close combat, then it's going to be bad for both. Yes, but the Predator has gorilla strength. He can punch through rock. He can rip limbs right off people's bodies. Boba's strong, but he's not quite as strong. So Boba would just have to avoid Predator. If Predator got a hand on him, it would be game over, I think. And the thing about the fire, I'm glad you brought that up, 3PO. We were talking about this earlier. The Predator is fire resistant. There's a scene in the movie where the Predator is on fire and he just walks through it, no problem. In my fan fiction, I had a moment where the Predator swings on Boba. Boba ducks, point blanks him with the flamethrower, but the Predator just keeps going because he's fire resistant, man. What are you going to do? Boba has blades on his gauntlets. I thought he had blades. Flamethrower, knee rockets, rocket blast. Yes, rockets what we're talking about next, but those are all projectiles, right? He's not going to bust his rocket pack off his back in a close combat situation. We're talking about OP weapons, right? So Boba Fett has that missile. The missile is a super powerful weapon. It's kind of a one-shot. Boba's only got one of them. He's got to make it count. It's effective in 99% of situations, but unfortunately, the Predator has been known to, first of all, they can dodge missiles. They can dodge things at rocket speed. I don't think they can't dodge bullets because bullets are like instant, but a missile or a rocket takes time to travel. And I think a Predator would be able to dodge Boba's missile. If not, he could tank it and he'd be all right. That being said, Boba also has the pulse blaster, which is like a vaporizing weapon. And I think if Predator got hit by the pulse blaster, and this is up for debate, okay, people got different opinions on this. If Predator got hit by the pulse blaster, that's game over, Predator. That's GG. However, Predator also has a GG one-shot weapon, which is the plasma caster on his shoulder. If the plasma caster hit Boba, that's game over, Boba. Although it is up for debate, if the plasma caster hit the Beskar armor, I don't know if the Beskar armor would be able to absorb it or reflect it. I just think that Boba is so vulnerable that even I think the surrounding damage would be enough. I mean, it puts a baseball-sized hole in humans, right? It's so I don't know. I think Pulse Blaster, Plasma Caster, I'd say they cancel out. They're both like insta-kill weapons. Next up, we have explosives. They both have a variety of mines, grenades, um, rockets. I mean, Boba's got rockets up the yin yang. As we've seen in Mandalorian, he's got the knee rockets, he's got the wrist rockets. But we just talked about rockets, right? They don't do much to harm the Predator. He's able to tank them. But Boba Fett's not dumb. He wouldn't put himself in a position where he's like, I don't think Boba Fett would fall for a landmine. You know, he's too smart for that. So I think a lot of things that are explosive traps or grenades, I think Boba Fett would have a way of dealing with that efficiently. So I'd say those two cancel out. No point for either side. Predator would rip off his head. Maybe, as long as he got the spine out first. As long as the spine is clean. Wow, that's a bit of an inside joke there. Okay, next up, we had the fire category, but we already talked about that. A few more categories to go. Take a sip here because I'm talking like crazy. I'm talking, I'm energized. My espresso is hitting me at full force. We're at the climax of the stream. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing. Okay, next up we have talking about Boba's blasters, his pistols, stuff like that. It's hard to say what kind of damage that would do to Predator. We know that Predator can tank bullets. They do harm him, but it's like shooting a bear. You need a lot of bullets, and it wouldn't even kill him. It might kill him after the battle if he bleeds out, but the Predator has a med kit. He'd patch himself up. So I don't know. I think they would do damage, though. I think Boba's really efficient with his blasters, and I think that if he caught the Predator off guard, which Boba can definitely do, I think that the blasters could be enough to take down Predator. So that being said, and the Predator doesn't have a gun like that. He doesn't have any kind of energy gun aside from his shoulder cannon that I'm aware of. There might be. So that point would go to Boba. But the Predator does have things like his smart discs that can shred anything. He's got his power gauntlet. He's got his spear. He's got a bunch of other stuff that Boba doesn't have. So a point goes there as well. He's got a lot more in terms of melee weapons. Boba also has stun darts. I was going to include okay, Duke Nukem. Never played that one. Boba could also give Predator a kick with a knife points in his boots. True. Yeah, he could. If he got close enough. Again, risky. I didn't include the stun darts because I don't know if they'd affect the Predator because the Predator is like a 300-pound, 7-8 foot alien. I don't know if a stun dart could do it. Maybe I'm sure Boba has a powerful enough stun dart to take down anything, but I'm just not sure. Maybe the Predator's system is so highly evolved that it can handle stun. So I don't know. That's a question mark. If it does stun the Predator, that's game over, right? Boba is smart enough and tactical enough to just get one stun dart in Predator and take him down. A couple other OP weapons here, and these are my last points. Boba Fett has a lightsaber that could cut through anything that the Predator has. So if Boba Fett pulled out the lightsaber, if he had it in the battle, it's hard to think of a scenario where Boba doesn't take it. The lightsaber, it's too good. It just cuts anything down. I mean, the Predator he's smart enough to know that he could just, I'm trying to think, he might shoot a mesh net at Boba's legs, take his legs out so that Boba couldn't reach him with the lightsaber, but then Boba could just cut the mesh net open or something. I just think the lightsaber is too powerful. But the Predator also has the self-destruct, right? And that's, he levels the playing field instantly. Even if Boba manages to clinch the win, the Predator will just kill him with self-destruct if he's still alive and Boba doesn't know about the self-destruct. If Boba knows about the self-destruct will probably be the first thing that he goes for, right? So if we add up the points here, the points that don't cancel out. Okay. Boba Fett gets a point for the long range fighting. He gets a point for his blaster fire, his wrist lasers, stuff like that. He gets a point for the lightsaber. We've talked about a lot of things, but a lot of these things cancel out. Right? A lot of these tools they're the same. On the Predator side, we give Predator the speed, and unless Boba's using a jetpack, but that doesn't count because if Predator takes out the jetpack, then Boba doesn't have the speed. But I'd still got to give speed to Predator because Predator can match Boba's speed even with the jetpack because the Predator is as fast as a car, right? So we got a point for strength, we got a point for speed, we got a point for combat experience because he's older and wiser, more combat experience. At close range, the fight goes to the Predator. That's another point. He gets a point for stealth. He gets a point for his plasma caster. Actually, we'll take that point away because Boba has the phasma. What's it called? The pulse blaster. We'll cancel that out. He's fire resistant. There's a point for that. He's got a lot more tools and arsenal. He's more prepared. And he's got the self-destruct. So by my calculations, that's 3-4 points to Boba and like 8 points for the Predator. Don't hate me, Star Wars fans, but I feel like I have to give this to Predator. I think that he's just too well equipped. He's older, he's wiser, he's got more experience. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm also a huge Predator fan. I went through a huge phase in high school where I had Predator posters up. I had a Predator figurine. I had all the movies, collectible edition. I had Predator figurine. I had video games, but I have even more of that stuff for Star Wars. So I come in kind of as a neutral party. I would be fine with either of them winning. I am totally unbiased in the situation. That is why I think I'm going to give the win to Predator. You can unsubscribe now. Let me just read your comments here. I just rambled for a while. It's like comparing a cowboy versus Bigfoot. if Bigfoot had an instant kill weapon on his shoulder. Yeah. It's not your average cowboy. Why do I feel like that would be really good on a t-shirt? Lost my place in the comments here. Boba has the mud. This is the thing, and a lot of people who've done these round type scenarios, if like sometimes when people compare these people from different universes, they give the fighters the experience from the first round. So kind of there was a Batman versus Predator comic, and in the comic, the Predator and Batman had pretty much went toe to toe 3 times. Batman got his ass kicked, but he learned a little bit every time, and by the 3rd round, he had the Predator in a trap, but he still got his shit kicked by the Predator. Alfred comes in, and Batman has reinforcements that come in, and then I think the Batmobile takes his battered body away, and Batman's like head to toe in bandages, but he learns every single round. So I think if they did go toe to toe, I think Boba's kind of like the Batman of the Star Wars universe. He would learn, and he would come back stronger and beat the Predator for sure. Also, what we talked about was prep time. If either of them had prep time, they would win. Whoever had the prep time would win. That's just both kind of the hunters there. They're both hunters. Boba is my boy, but Predator is just going to be too much for Boba. And that's coming from someone with a Boba profile picture. Fair enough, dude. Fair enough. I could see 2 Predators, but I think he could take 1. That's a fair point. Predators don't usually hunt. They hunt 1 at a time because they're in it for the sport, right? So I don't know if that would happen. Alien wins. Now that is a whole nother debate. I do think Boba would crush an alien, right? I mean, the thing is, aliens are usually in like really dark, close combat areas. They're always in an area where they have an advantage. That's always where the aliens are. So they'd have to catch Boba in some tomb somewhere or something like that. And in which case it would be a hard battle. But Boba's got a freaking flamethrower. So Boba crushes an alien, I think. Vader kills Predator. Dude, I think Vader could go toe-to-toe with Superman, in my opinion. So I stand by this. Okay. One thing I want to mention before we wrap it up. This has been a really fun discussion. This has been a fun stream, guys. Totally refreshing. If you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. We started a new Discord challenge, and that is build a team. You got 100 points to assemble a team. Anakin's worth like 60 points. Padme is worth 5 points, right? Vader's worth 60 points. Everyone's worth a different set point. Boba Fett's worth 15 points. So you got 100 points to build your team. And that's going to be in the Discord server, in the channel, Build a Team Challenge. Okay. It's for bragging rights, but it's also for a live shout out. And you get the digital award, right? You get the digital certificate, and you go in the Discord Hall of Fame, a channel that I just made today for all of our Discord winners, forever to bask in your glorious victory. Yeah, man. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. So yeah, Discord challenge. Hope to see you there. You have a week. Okay. I'm streaming again next Friday, and I'm doing a Real Talk live. I'm not announcing the guest yet, but it's somebody that you know and love. And I'm looking forward to doing that one. It's been a long time since I've done a Real Talk live. Vader versus Goku. This is a whole can of worms. I want to talk about this now because I love Vader and Goku. You know it, bro. You know it. Lastly, I have to plug myself. Okay. A huge shout out to the High Council members. Damn, fellas. High Council members making my day. Last week we had Solanic join the High Council. We had Matt Rissman join the council. Before that, we had Lord Crit join the High Council. We got Jedi Machios in the High Council. We got Willie Walrus. Who else we got? Taylor Oxelgren. Justin Calderon. I think that's about everybody. Yeah. High Council is the way that you support this channel because YouTube won't monetize my channel. I don't know why I've exceeded the requirements. So all YouTube memberships are done through Patreon. The prices are the same as YouTube, and you get recognized for it in the Discord and shout outs like these. I appreciate you guys. I freaking love you guys, man. You give me hope. You inspire me. And lastly, I'm going to ask you guys again to subscribe to the new channel. That being said, YouTube is not monetizing my YouTube channel. And I started a new channel in hopes that that one will be monetized. And that one is exclusively for gaming because I had to take some of my channel and put it somewhere else, right? I had to break off a branch. That analogy doesn't work, but you know what I mean. Thanks, Average. Thanks, Gray. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. It was fun. It was really fun. I think that's all I got. I'm gonna post those edits I did of Boba and Predator fighting each other. I didn't even do the intro. I didn't do the video intro. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play the intro as my outro, and then we'll sign off. Yeah, dude, I am. It has officially happened. I beat Republic Commando, and I did the finale on my new channel. So if you missed it, it's gonna be there. Yeah, if you guys like the fan fiction type stuff, I'll do it. Like I'm bored at work a lot of the time, and I have access to a computer. That's where I did this. I wrote it up at work today. All right, I'm gonna leave you with the intro as my outro. Join the Discord if you haven't. Subscribe to the new channel if you haven't. Patreon's there if you want it. Donations there if you want it. Don't do it if you don't want to. I'll see you guys next time. May the Force be with you.
It is time that we had a talk. A real talk.